I visited the place where Romania's dictator Ceausescu made his final appearance before he was swept from power and executed. But to get here from my Danube river cruise meant a long, hot, tiring journey to and from Bucharest. But it did mean I also got to see a village in the city that celebrated Romania's history. Today I'm going to see if Bucharest really deserves its place on a Danube river cruise itinerary. Oh, and there'll be a bit more of this. Strange as it might seem, my day in Bucharest was to begin in Bulgaria, here in Rus, as our riverboat crossed the Danube River to Romania. As we do this, it gives me an opportunity to tell you about the journey today. We're going to travel all the way up from the Danube to Bucharest, and then after looking around the city, we'll return to the Danube further east down the river to where our boat has moved. All in all, it's going to be a very long day, which leads me to asking you, what was your longest travelling for an excursion on a cruise, be it at sea or on a riverboat? Mine, it wasn't this one, it was one in the Caribbean that I'll tell you about a bit later in this video. Early this morning we left the Bulgarian side of the Danube and you come across to Giurgiu, the Romanian side, and right in front of me a fleet of buses waiting to take us to Bucharest. I wanted to see and experience 4 things from my time in Bucharest. The first, the downfall of Ceausescu, something of where that happened and the stories that surround it. The second, well, it's kind of linked to Ceausescu. It's one of the world's biggest buildings. More on that a little later on. Then there's the history of the whole of the Romanian country, which has been centralised in the city in a very unique way. And the final one, well, it wasn't on my list at the start, but I've put it here in truth afterwards because it gave us a flavour of this. We've made it to Bucharest, the Romanian capital. Plenty of beeping for the traffic behind. And the building behind me was started by Ceausescu. It's the apparently 3rd biggest building in the world. You can probably let me know in the comments what the biggest 2 are ahead of it. I'd guess the Pentagon would be one of them, maybe. But let me know in the comments anyway. But yeah, so it wasn't actually finished when Ceausescu died, but the Romanians decided to finish it off in the 1990s. And apparently, yes, you can see a lot of the building here behind me and it goes back. But there's also even more of the building below ground as well. But we're not going to be going inside. We've got more of Bucharest to see now, but it is a pretty big building. And as you can see, there is a lot of traffic here in Bucharest as well. Well, that's the building, and it is a very big building, that's for sure. But I just need to head a little bit in the opposite direction to have a look along the boulevard and take a look at some of the fountains nearby. After the boiling temperatures yesterday in Bulgaria, it's not too bad here in Bucharest at the moment, although, as you can see, I'm in the shade. But yeah, so not too hot, but we're still a couple of hours from midday, so I'm sure it's going to get a bit warmer. If a fountain and a boulevard is your sort of thing, then you're in luck. We've got plenty of that in front of us. Next up on the channel, I'm going to take you to the very end of the Danube River, where it meets the Black Sea. To not miss out on that and future videos, tickle the old subscribe button. So this may look like rural Romania, but that's exactly how it's supposed to look. We're still in Bucharest, but this is the Village Farm Museum, and it was started in 1936, and there are now 272 buildings have been bought here to recreate rural life and give people a look back at their history and their heritage. Let's take a look around. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Reminds me of some of my friends. It's worth me reminding you that this is right in the heart of one of Europe's biggest cities. I think Bucharest is something like the 4th biggest in the European Union, yet you've got this image of rural life in Romania through the centuries from all the different parts. And look at this building over here, just one of many. So the buildings basically have been bought where they were originally and then taken apart methodically, bought here and rebuilt, and apparently it's still happening to this day. And it's a great way, isn't it, to preserve Romania's heritage. Well, these houses, they look good for Smurfs, if you ask me. Dug into the ground, they look very low. Let's see what they're like inside. All joking aside, clearly that building is cooler in the summer and it's pretty warm today. Not as bad as it was in Bulgaria yesterday, and it's warmer in the winter. It's probably harder to see as well, so maybe you don't attract anyone who wants to cause you problems. So I'll move away quickly because of course I don't want to get strikes on YouTube, but isn't that great to see some of the youngsters having a go at their traditional dances. So visiting at this time of year, I'm here in July, in case you can't guess from the weather. There's some local crafts being sold here as well. Some painted eggs, you saw the tops there as well, some food, which I think is quite a nice touch. But it is a pretty special place to visit. I should mention now as well that we're not done here. A little later in the video we're going apparently to the oldest restaurant in Bucharest, possibly in Romania, but certainly in Bucharest. I'm not sure, would we know in where we live of the oldest restaurant? If we do, if you do, let me know. So that building behind me was actually built here, it wasn't moved here. It was a royal palace, the Elizabethan Royal Palace, and in 1947 King Michael I, terrific name if you ask me, was there, not for good reasons though. He was forced to abdicate his throne by the communists. It is now though back in the hands of the royal family, or more particularly their descendants, because Romania is a republic. But haven't got more time to really walk around here because we need to get back on the bus and head around Bucharest.
The free press, and in front of the house, just
as we close in on the dictator's balcony, what about that longest excursion for me? While it was on a cruise in the Caribbean before I ran this channel, and it was a 3.5 hour journey to these Mayan sites. It was fantastic, but it was a very long day. What was your longest? Let me know.
It's a very special place.
If you're the same age as me, or maybe a little older, 1989 was a pretty big year as the Berlin Wall came down and Eastern Europe, or Central Europe, whichever your vantage point is, changed. And probably one of the most iconic moments of that huge upheaval happened here in Bucharest, and happened here right in front of me. Now if you cast your mind back, these images from 1989 are probably quite familiar, of Ceausescu, the dictator of Romania, who'd got back to the country after a revolution had happened a couple of days earlier, making a speech to the crowd on the 21st of December. And he stood right up there to my left on a balcony, and that was the moment I think it hit him that it was probably all over, because he got a very bad reaction from the crowd here in Bucharest. Not long after he left from here by helicopter, flew to another part of Romania, and just after Christmas he had a brief trial and he was executed. And this all started here in Revolution Square. I'll be honest, I have really strong memories of that happening. I was in a car heading up to see my grandparents in Sweden, and that story was breaking all the time, and we were hearing about the revolution going on in Romania. And then just after Christmas, all that footage of the death of the Ceausescus. But the key thing you need to see here, and it's kind of obscured by the statue, but I'll try and show it to you, is there's a small balcony where there are the Romanian flags. And at that small balcony, that's where Ceausescu made his speech. Right, so I braved the road so we can get a little bit closer to take a look at this place in history. It's funny, isn't it? Now it's such a nondescript little balcony, but when I look at it, I can see the images that I showed you earlier in this film, and you just think what's come out of it and the country that Romania's become after that revolution. It's just amazing. It all, I guess, didn't start, but certainly in Bucharest it kind of started with that appearance on the balcony of a confused old man. I should also mention that the memorial that you see in this picture now, it's a memorial to the around 1,000 Romanians who lost their lives during the revolution. You know when you go on those excursions and there are annoying people who are always late back? Well, that was me on that little walk up to the balcony. I was a few minutes late, so apologies to everyone who was on that excursion with me. But I think, as you can see, it was worth it. Anyway, it's on to lunch at Bucharest's oldest restaurant, which included a little bit of entertainment too. As ever with excursions during cruises, we were on the clock, and after lunch it was a quick walk back towards our bus to take us back towards the boat. But I did get a little bit of time to go into the famous bookstore in Bucharest. Trust me, this walk around the bookstore is about as much time as I had. But it was certainly great to just pop in. I guess that's what you can call it. After that, it was on towards the bus with one final stop off at this amazing church for a monastery. What you see before you is everything inside this little church. Quite incredible. It was time, though, to bid farewell to Bucharest, at least for now. I'm sure I'll return in the future. We now faced a just over 2-hour drive, about 150 kilometres, across southern Romania to catch up with our boat, which had moved on from where we left it. So what did I make of the excursion? It was excellent, absolutely worth going on. The only downside was the travelling, probably around 3.5 hours on the bus in total during the day. I arrived back at the boat, tired, but actually quite happy. Little did I know one of the curses of river cruising was about to strike. To not miss out on the next few videos explaining this, hit subscribe.